Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your co-host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now I want to welcome in my other co-host. I don't even know how to introduce him anymore because nothing ever makes him happy. But he won a national championship in 1981, put Isaiah Thomas on his back, carried the Hoosiers to the championship, and then he became a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Help me welcome to the show, Steve Risley.
Hi, Mike. How you doing? Mike, that was a much better introduction.
Well, I just want Isaiah Thomas to know if he hears this or anybody tells him about it, that was really sarcastic.
I don't think we have to worry about Isaiah Thomas listening to this show.
You never know.
Somehow don't think that.
You never know.
Yeah, you're right. You never know. I mean, he's hawking a big champagne line. Maybe we need to get him on board and be a sponsor.
Well, I would have thought you've already got him on board, but you haven't yet.
You know what? How many layers you got to get through to get to? I have his cell phone number. How many layers you got to get through? How many people answer his phone? When you have his direct cell phone number, how many people you get passed on to before Isaiah returns your call? Isaiah never takes your call. He doesn't take my call. I'm sure there's players' calls he does take, but I'm not one of them. I'm not in that inner circle. No. That's reserved for guys that scored in double digits with him in the championship game, not single digits like me.
He's probably just jealous of you. All right. Today we're going to talk about a little bit about the FBI investigation of the NCAA. And the Federal Bureau of Investigation has given the NCAA permission to proceed in investigating claims during the recent pay-for-play trial in New York. The FBI has been actively investigating this for years, but there has been an agreement with the NCAA that they would stay out of the way as not to interfere with the process. Now that this first trial is concluded and the FBI's claims held up in court, NCAA officials have been given the go-ahead to proceed how they see fit. I think the most intriguing piece to this whole puzzle is that the institutions of higher education, at least that's what we're going to call them, were actually seen as the victim of the trial.
Victims, I know.
The prosecution claimed that Gatto, Code, and Dawkins committed wire fraud in an effort to mislead these institutions about the eligibility of the players they were recruiting. So by allegedly arranging payments for the athletes, the schools were fraudulently convinced to issue scholarships to these athletes. Now the NCAA will look into punishing these same schools for the same actions that they were made victims of in federal court. The biggest culprits here seem to be the Kansas Jayhawks with Silvio De Souza, Dennis Smith Jr. of NC State, and Brian Bowen of Louisville. They were mentioned explicitly in the trial testimony as having received improper benefits. If you look at the three guys involved, Brian Bowen is long gone, never played a second of college basketball. Louisville could still receive even more sanctions based on the testimony of additional benefits paid to Bowen's family and efforts made to hide those transactions. Dennis Smith Jr., on the other hand, is making a name for himself with the Dallas Mavericks right now. But could NC State see sanctions and potentially forfeit wins for games in which Smith played? Kansas has been kind of proactive, at least to some extent, because they've suspended De Souza for now. But what about the games he played in last season? And if they take all of the testimony given as fact, would the Jayhawks really be able to keep their coaching staff intact? And do they keep their wins from last year, Steve? I think there's a lot of questions that go into this trial, and those three schools, I think, right off the top of my head, and of course Arizona, seem to be the ones with the biggest problem here.
Yeah, I think that those programs are covered because of the ruling by the FBI was that they were defrauded by the shoe companies. So they basically have taken any legal onus to persecute the coaches or the programs by saying that the universities were victims. I almost got to think that's something that got worked out between the NCAA and the FBI. Is to allow the NCAA to police itself and not make the FBI police them, which is what I think needs to happen if you want to clean up the money scandal in college athletics. So I don't see. I think the NCAA is going to do its cursory investigation, and they may slap some sanctions on some assistant coaches, but I don't think Self's in any real jeopardy. I don't think Miller at Arizona's in any jeopardy. North Carolina's coach is out here at CSUN right now coaching. He's already left that program, and Patino's already gone. And I don't think they're going to go on a witch hunt looking for other schools. But they ought to start with Duke if they do.
But wait a second,
that's a team
Steve.
that's a team that only money can buy.
But, Steve, Coach K apologized for his initial comments that irritated you. And actually, hold on, let me pull up the comments, because this is cute.
Well, he talks about being an Army and never being exposed to that. And, yeah, go ahead and pull up the comment.
Yeah.
But being an Army,
when he talked about it being a blip on the radar, he said, this is Coach K's quote, "I should have given it more time, and I apologize for that. I should have said, for me, I went to West Point. I was an Army officer for 5 years. I call it a blip on the radar screen of college basketball, and that doesn't mean that blip is not a serious thing. We should look at it real close. For me, the college basketball scene has always been pretty clean. I haven't encountered those things. We haven't lost a kid because I feel someone cheated for him. That's my explanation on it. Again, I apologize for shortchanging the answer."
You know what I read into that? I read into that Duke is real good at what they do in all facets of Duke's life, Duke's basketball life. That's kind of what I read into it.
Yeah, and I brought this up the other day. I mean, he doesn't know about cheating. How can you not know about cheating?
Not know about cheating.
When go out and get Jeff Capel to be your recruiting guru. He was hired in 2011 at Duke after leaving Oklahoma. He left Oklahoma because he was fired because Oklahoma was paying one of their players. An assistant coach knew about it, and, Capel himself basically weaseled his way out of it, didn't get any punishment. But part of the reason he left Oklahoma was he got fired for that. Then he goes to Duke. Now, are we supposed to think that since, Coach K's never heard about any of this? Do we think that Capel got fired and then Krzyzewski went and hired him and didn't know about this, Steve?
Was Capel, is that his name? Was he there when Sampson was there? Wasn't Sampson at Oklahoma?
Yeah, no. Sampson was at Oklahoma before Indiana, wasn't he?
Yeah, so I don't know
so
when Capel was at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
After that, okay. All right. Now, what was your question again?
I mean, the question is, how did, Coach K never really hears about cheating. So since they don't, I mean, do you think maybe he didn't know Jeff Capel got fired because of paying players?
I don't want to trash Duke and Coach K, but I mean, he's making some statements, and it's really funny how this retraction comes out right about the time that Duke is ripping the heck out of the number one ranked team in the country, the Kentucky Wildcats, on national TV. Then he comes out with all the speculation now about how in the world do you put this team together without some kind of conversation based on, well, the rumors are flying around going on now, and he's got these kids together. And you're going to, I don't know. I mean, I believe in the theory you're innocent until proven guilty, but boy, I tell you what, if I was him, I would kind of go back into my cave and not let people turn over a lot of stones. Because I got a feeling if they start turning over stones in Raleigh-Durham, they're going to find some red flags somewhere.
Yeah, and the thing that struck me is right after the FBI revealed college basketball's pay-for-play scheme, a private institution that isn't subject to Freedom of Information Act request now has all the country's best players. So all of those players were recruited by a guy who left his job because of a pay-for-play scandal. I mean, I'm not saying that Duke is guilty. What I'm saying is somebody needs to look into it, because this team has an awful lot of talent, and it was talent that seems like it was headed elsewhere until all of this came up.
Well, a couple things. First of all, I mean, give people an idea of what we're talking about here. I pulled up some of the testimony in Bowen. In Bowen's case, Bowen alleges that he was offered $50,000 from Arizona, $150,000 cash, $8,000 for a car, and additional money to buy a house from Oklahoma State, help with housing in parentheses from Texas, and $100,000 and a good job from Creighton. This is Bowen Sr. from the dad. Bowen wasn't just getting money from colleges. I didn't know this. I mean, where was I? Where was those when I was in high school? $2,000 per month to attend Lemure Prep School in LaPorte, Indiana.
Yeah.
He was getting paid while he was in high school. $25,000 to play for the Michigan Mustangs grassroots program on the Adidas circuit. $5,000 to $8,000 from Nike Mean Streets, the grassroots program Bowen joined going into the senior year. I guess that was after he dumped Adidas. $18,000 offer from Spieth. Now, we played up. Spieth is based out of Fort Wayne, and my teams played up at Spieth all the time. Nobody ever offered me $18,000 for my team to play up there. I wonder why. Another Nike grassroots program, which Bowen rejected, and $6,000 in consulting fees from Adidas for work Bowen Sr. said that he never did. So it just shows you what kind of money is floating around out there for these top players.
Well,
it just gets real hard. Hard for me to fathom that. Go ahead.
The thing that blows me away is the fact that Mike Krzyzewski says we'll never see college basketball players paid because the money's just not there for it.
But now he
yeah.
He
the money they may get paid for their likeness, but we can never pay the players.
And you know what, Mike? Maybe that's the way to go. But see, here's my theory on it. By involving the FBI and the IRS in this mess, we got more information and closure here because the guys were convicted. I guess they just haven't been sentenced yet, but they were convicted of defrauding the universities and wiretapping and money laundering, correct? It sounds like they were convicted.
Yeah.
They were found guilty, but I don't think a sentencing's been done yet.
Not yet.
So we don't know what their punishment's going to be. So therefore, that's why it's kind of been going to But we've learned more since this trial came from the government and it involved the money transferring than we've ever learned from the NCAA, because the NCAA doesn't want to investigate. They don't publicly review. They're a public company in the sense that they're a 501c or a tax-exempt company. I don't know if they're a 501c or there's a different level of tax exemption on their status, but they're a tax-exempt company, so they're basically working, for the most part, tax-free and making huge amounts of profit. But yet they're not accountable to release information, it seems, to people as much as what we just learned. We've learned more since this trial, the Gatto trial we call it, has gone on. So my theory is if truly college basketball wants to clean itself up, find some kind of way to compensate. And if it's through licensing, if it's through using your likeness over a period of time, and you get remuneration, then you got to tax it, you got to W-2 it, and you let the IRS and the FBI or whatever investigate it at that point in time. Then you're going to get some results. But we know damn good and well the NCAA wants no part of that. They don't want their books opened up to anybody, which is why they've been real quiet through this whole thing and really not taking any action against any of these universities. And now they're going to hide behind the umbrella of the university were defrauded, and I'll bet you're going to see nothing happen to these universities, other than maybe an assistant coach here or there may become a sacrificial lamb at any one of these programs. I mean, look at it. Nothing's happened. I mean, Kansas is self-policing, so they're going to be saying, well, they're self-policing, they're taking care of it themselves. Krzyzewski's claiming he's blind, see no evil, hear no evil, do no evil. Patino's already gone. North Carolina, their coach has moved on. He's gone. And Arizona, really, we haven't heard much from them. They've been, they kind of exonerated them as well. So really, what are they going to go after? How much probing and investigating do you really think they're going to do?
Not much.
Not much.
Mike Krzyzewski only makes $9 million a year, though. He is the highest paid coach.
That's really all he makes? I would have thought it would have been more than that at this point in his career.
Probably not counting shoe contracts and stuff. But
yeah, probably not counting shoe contracts.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, in 2016, Jeff Capel, who's his assistant, was making $600,000 a year.
Yeah. That's just phenomenal money, for coaching basketball for 5, 6, 7 months. Of course, it's a year-round job now, but that's just an absurd amount of money. And to think that there's not any corruption going on with that kind of money being floating around and the importance and relevance of winning. I mean, we go back to what Butler's run and the 2-year run they went to the championship game, what it did to that university in terms of recruitment and enrollment, and they got a waiting list all of a sudden. They started recruiting a higher level of players. I mean, the turnaround of having a successful football or basketball program right now for the university as a whole in terms of investments in it is phenomenal. I find it very hard to believe that Duke can put together a basketball team like they did just simply on the basis that these guys all want to come there for nothing and play for a year, year and a half, or two. I just don't see – I don't know. I don't see it happening.
No. But we'll act like it did. Because that's
well, you're gonna have to, because I don't think the NCAA. You said you had a list of schools that
they
you
don't
think
want to
are going to be.
Duke. I mean, you've got the Arizonas, you got the NC States. They could do without them, but they can't do without Duke. You're not going to do anything to Duke. You probably wouldn't touch Kentucky, and I'm not saying for 1 second Kentucky's cheating. I'm just saying that when you get their burger Kansas is a big program. So when you look at it, I would say that the NCAA would rather just go away than actually deal with it.
Well, and that's right. That's right. I think that the ruling comes down where the university were defrauded. That gives the NCAA every right to walk away from this. They can just wash their hands of it, and they're going to be in collusion behind closed doors with the shoe companies because they want the money to keep coming in. But they're like, look, the less noise we make about this, the less interest there's going to be in the world. And we're going to be able to keep going about doing our business and just have to be a little more careful and quiet about it and not carry paper bags full of $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 around and dropping them off and talking to coaches and texting coaches about it. Have you guys not realized yet that you can retrieve any text you ever type? It's all retrievable?
I don't think they do. Urban Meyer didn't.
I don't think they do. Yeah, I really don't think that they anything you put into cyberspace now.
You figure most of these guys are somewhere between the ages of 40 and 70, so I don't know.
Well,
it's just like look at all the people that don't realize that when you take a picture of yourself and you're naked on an iPhone and you send it to somebody, it's out there in the cloud.
It goes to everybody.
Yeah,
it's in the cloud at that point in time. It goes to everybody.
That's why when I take naked pictures of myself, I usually suck my gut in.
I don't even know where to go with that one. I don't even, you know what? I try and think I'm a funny guy. I know I'm not a funny guy, but I think I am. I don't even have a weird comment for that one.
So I win again. All right, let's switch topics. We'll go to the NFL.
So wait a minute. So
what?
What's the next move here? What goes on? With your eyes,
I don't think anything is going to go on. I think that they'll
You think it's just going to go away entirely?
They'll fire assistant coaches and nothing else will happen. Now, this is the thing. You got a second and a third trial coming, which could expand this much bigger. And it's possible that there could be stuff comes out in the second or the third trial that makes this so big that they can't ignore it. That's what we got to hope happens, I think.
But aren't they just going to use this one as a precedent, really, to basically say that Nike and Under Armour, because the other ones are involving Nike and Under Armour,
Nike or Under Armour did worse stuff. I mean, maybe they were even over the top with it. Maybe you can get somebody to talk to a head coach, but I think these head coaches are smart enough to not get caught up in that. That's why they've got, $500,000 a year assistant coaches to take the fall for them.
Right.
But
yeah. So we think this is pretty well. I mean, it's been very quiet now that basketball season started, and I was listening. I think we talked briefly about it yesterday. Jay Billis made a great observation. He goes, really, truly, the public doesn't care. The general public, all they care about is their program and their university or their team winning. And I think the general public is generally more smart than the NCAA gives them credit for, because I think the general public now just realizes that this is just a way of doing business now, is you're buying players out of high school, and it's just become an accepted principle. Am I right or wrong there?
Oh, yeah.
Really, I mean,
nobody cares. The only time
Kansas
you care
people
is if
don't
you get busted.
Get busted, yeah. Kansas doesn't care. All they care about is that they're ranked number one preseason in the country, and they've got, they're getting money's coming into the university. Teams, everybody gets some bragging rights about being number one or number two, wherever they are, and I don't think they really care. They just see it as that's the cost of doing business in college basketball now, which goes back to my theory. If the NCAA would get smart and would find some way to profit share with players, would find some way to pay them for use of their likeness or things like that. Just get the IRS involved, because it's the one institution in the world you don't screw with, is the IRS. You know, they come after you, and they have a license to, whether they want to or not. Whether you want them to or not, they have the biggest license. I think you just put it in their hands and let them clean it up. But again, I think the NCAA wants no part of having to open their books to the IRS any more than they already have to.
Well, and
there's probably a lot of college basketball fans in the IRS, and they don't really want to go digging either, because I'm sure most of those guys have graduated from a lot of these universities too.
All righty, let's go ahead and let's move on to, of course, the big topic of tonight, which is last night, Georgia Southern beat the Carver Cougars 139-51. All right, Steve, are you prepared to talk about Georgia Southern's big 139-51 win over the Carver Cougars? And what is a Carver Cougar is my other question.
A Carver
is that
Cougar.
the team from White Shadow? They were Carver, weren't they? I think that was a high school, though.
Yeah, they were Carver High School. Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah, they were. They were
That
Carver High.
show. I used to
That was a great show.
When I was little. I was
Ken,
little.
what was the guy's name? Ken
Howard.
Ken, what was Ken? He died.
Well, yeah, he's old.
I
He was old back in.
I think he passed away. That was a good show.
Yeah, I liked that show.
Ahead of its time. Kind of an earlier version of Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, only basketball. All right, next up, let's talk about, is tonight a possible Super Bowl preview between the Carolina Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, Steve?
No.
Well, that was easy.
I think it's going to be a great football. I think it's going to be a good football game. I think you got two streaking teams right now. And I say streaking, that's kind of maybe a harsh word to use. I think you got two teams that are rising right now. They're improving their level of play. Both programs are. They're both somewhat exciting teams. Anytime you got Roethlisberger out there, he's a train wreck that runs at 90 miles an hour, that can crash and burn at any second. You've got the ongoing story of Le'Veon Bell, and not.
Is that even a story anymore? Is Le'Veon Bell a story?
No,
anymore?
really,
Does
no.
anybody care?
Who's the kid? Who's the running back that's playing for them now? Connor?
Yeah, James Conner. Who
he's made
cancer.
it a non-story.
I mean, he overcame cancer. He's a great story.
He's made Le'Veon Bell a non-story single-handedly.
Well, I think Le'Veon Bell has made Le'Veon Bell a non-story.
Well, he's definitely had a hand in it in his own right. I agree, but certainly Connor, the way his play, and at this point in time, if I was the Steelers, I wouldn't touch Bell with a 10-foot pole. Why would you disrupt the chemistry in that football team right now to bring back a cancer who is not going to be happy? He's going to be out of shape. He's going to be disgruntled about having to be forced to come back because another player is basically outplaying him or taking a spot away from him. So, this is just another tragic case of you can buy somebody for what they're worth.
Did you see Le'Veon Bell's tweets last night?
No, what did Le'Veon say?
Le'Veon Bell, his holdouts kind of got everybody turned upside down, and his tweets do too. Because last night, if you check his Twitter feed out, the Steelers running back posted 2 tweets that will make your brain take a knee if you need to read them. He posted the tweets upside down. So when you look at them, you'd have to turn everything over to be able to read it. Here's what.
But you can't, because when you do, your phone flips. Your phone flips all the time anyway.
But number one, I want to know how the hell he.
How do you do that?
I know. I didn't know you could.
Oh, I know how he did it. He took he tweeted it. He put it on a tweet. Then he took a snap picture of it, and then he just flipped it on when he did the editing process in an iPhoto.
There you go. You would not get that kind of insightful banter from Stephen A. Smith. He would not know that. He would just ask, I don't know how he did that. But this is what the tweet said, and this is from Le'Veon Bell. Just about everybody has an opinion on my life and worried about what I'm doing. Don't judge me off my decisions, because maybe this isn't what you'd do, but most people don't take the time to just simply read between the lines, and that's clearly on them. I'm not apologizing for what I believe is right for myself, family, and the rest of my peers, period. Also, if you're really finding the time to figure out what I'm saying, you've proved my point. Oh, okay, sure. That will
Which is why I
definitely
didn't read the
get Steeler
tweet.
fans.
I really don't care.
Yeah, I didn't either. The only reason I know what it says is because they translated it here. Because if not, I wouldn't have done it. Because just looking at it gives me a headache, which is actually pretty much the only thing Le'Veon Bell does for anybody anymore is give him a headache. He's cost himself at least $8 to $10 million that he can never get back. I don't see why a team would jump on giving him a ton of money next year, because who knows, he may just want a new contract the next year and do the same thing to you. So in the end, I'm not going to say it's selfish because of this. I think if you're an NFL player, you got to get all the money you can get in the time you can get it.
Fast as you can get it, right.
And the NFL team, if they don't want you no more, will cut you loose and not care. But this is just ridiculous anymore. I mean, if you don't want to play anymore, just retire. Or just tell everybody, I'm not playing for the Steelers this year. I'll see y'all next year with the new team. And just shut up about it. You know, everything doesn't have to be all about you. The whole world doesn't have to revolve around you. Just shut up. Say, I'm not playing this year. I'm going to play next year. I'm going to go to the highest bidder, and that's the way it is. And I think the great thing here would be if somebody didn't overpay him, and all of a sudden he's out there and the best contract offer he's got is no more than what he's making now.
I think that's where he's headed. I genuinely, for every reason you just said, I think it's exactly where he's headed. I don't think he's improving his value to any degree at all. He's lessening his value.
Especially as a running back. I mean, running backs have a short shelf life. I mean, that's why Adrian Peterson doing what he's doing at 33, 34 years old is so amazing because nobody does
Frank
that.
Gore.
Yeah.
Frank Gore's another one.
Gore. Yeah, Frank Gore's played so long, he might play himself into the Hall of Fame just from longevity.
Well, I think he has. I think he just moved up to like number 4 or 3 on the 3 or 4 or 5 in the all-time yardage list of running backs. But he's done it through longevity, not necessarily through greatness in any one particular season. He's never played on. Has he ever played on a really good winning team?
Who? Le'Veon Bell?
No.
I hate whenever
Frank Gore.
We were talking about Frank Gore. Yeah, the 49ers. He played in the Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, did he?
Was
okay.
the
All right. Well, good for him.
So,
Frank Gore is a good guy. I mean, he played a couple years for the Colts, and he's well liked. Man, I like to see things happen, good things happen to him. But no, I at this point, Connor has just made Le'Veon Bell totally irrelevant.
So let's look at the game tonight.
I don't.
What would be the key? To me, the key for me is I think Carolina's defense can give Pittsburgh all kind of trouble. The Steelers have 3 players in the top 20 in total yards after catch this season: Brown, Smith-Schuster, and James Conner. All 3 are dynamic with the ball in their hands. So, to me, the secondary and the linebackers just have to limit yards after catch. I actually think I'm going against my better judgment here because I think usually when you're the home team on a Thursday night, you have a huge advantage. But I think the Panthers are going to win this game with their defense, and I think Cam Newton's going to have a big game. I don't think the Steelers' defense is that good, and I think Cam Newton has really improved this season.
I agree entirely, and actually in my little fun pool I picked Carolina. I think right now Cam Newton's playing about as good a football as we've seen him play. I still think Pittsburgh, while they're improving, they're a little shaky. But just good things are happening to Carolina right now. They're making a run. They'll fizzle. I don't think that they're going to be a real threat in the playoffs. But I think right now they're playing as good a football as anybody in the NFC right now. With the exception probably of New Orleans. Yeah, with the exception of New Orleans and Los Angeles.
New Orleans and the Rams are playing the best. All right, I got a good one for you. Yesterday we talked about Jerry Jones. Did you see the 70-year-old Cowboys fan who wrote a letter to Jerry Jones that ended in "We suck"?
No.
All right. This is a story out of Mansfield, Texas. Rylan Wood is a second grader from Mansfield, Texas, who isn't very happy with the team he's rooted for his entire life. He says, "My family is a really big Cowboys fan." This is what Wood told WFAA-TV out of Fort Worth. "But we need to work on our skills." He said on Monday, the 7-year-old and his mom were watching the Cowboys lose to the Titans during the prime time. He vowed to do something drastic if they didn't win the game. He told his mom, "I really want to write a letter if the Cowboys lose." All right, so he told her, I want to write the letter to Jerry Jones. So this is the letter to Jerry Jones. Dear Mr. Jones, my name is Rylan Wood. I'm a 7-year-old second-grade student in Mansfield, Texas. My family has been Dallas Cowboy fans since the team was started. You have made my mom very mad because we suck in capital letters. Every game day, she is yelling at the TV and turns off the TV. We are wanting to believe in the boys, but it's hard. I hope Coach Garrett is clapping if this letter gets to you, because that's basically all. This is my part. But if you watch Jason Garrett, he basically just claps the whole game. But it's cool because the kid puts, I hope Coach Garrett is clapping if this letter gets to you. See what happens when you let Des Bryant go. The cheerleaders are better and more entertaining than the team this year. I do not want to hurt your feelings. Thank you, Rylan.
You suck.
Yeah, we suck. They even got a picture of him. His mom put it on Facebook. It blew up. It went viral. And there you go. I mean, and the kid knows more about the Dallas Cowboys as a 7-year-old than Jerry Jones does.
Yeah, I mean, we're beating a dead horse with Jerry Jones. I mean, I don't. I guess it's his franchise to do what he wants to with. Why do we care? It's kind of like Le'Veon Bell. Why do we care?
Well, because this is the thing.
I'm not a Cowboys fan anyway.
I'm not a Cowboys fan either, but this is the thing that bothers me. When you are expecting people to pay for 40% of $1 billion stadium, and you're expecting them to pay hundreds of dollars for season tickets, it shouldn't be about you. You should be trying to do what it takes to appease those fans who pay your bills.
Well, he's got cheerleaders going for him, so he's got that. We got a nice stadium. Our stadium's beautiful.
Yeah, which is paid for 40%. That's $400 to $500 million from the taxpayers. So all I'm saying is, if you're going to take taxpayer money, at least respect your fans. In terms of Cincinnati, they don't respect their fans because they keep Marvin Lewis there. I mean, that's just a simple fact. Yeah. They don't. Because if you did, you would want to put a better product on the field.
Play devil's advocate with you. The Cowboys are profitable. Yeah. That $400 or $500 million investment that the city made, the city's making
not worth it. No, they're
2 or
not.
3 times
There
that.
is no way they
You don't think so?
There is not one stadium deal that's ever been done that has been. I mean, come on.
Really?
I mean, maybe in Dallas,
but the overall,
you get a little bit more out of it. But how about
impact?
this? In Cincinnati, the taxpayers paid 90% of that stadium. That stadium is used for 10 Bengals games a year. There is no way you're getting back the $100 million that you spent. It's 10 games a year. That's it. In Indianapolis, you've at least got a dome stadium where you have other events. But when you get a place like Cincinnati, you got 10 home games. They will play one University of Miami game there. You might get a concert or two there. But how are you really making money off of a place that is in service 14 or 15 days out of the year?
I don't know, but Indianapolis has indoor tractor pulls at Lucas Oil.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At least you've got something there.
Yeah.
Now, I also think it is really, really stupid to have a football field with a dome. But I think you guys can at least open it up, right?
Yeah, ours is retractable. It's retractable. They never retract it. But it's retractable.
They retracted in September. I think when they played the Bengals, it was retracted because it was like 80 degrees out and sunny.
80 degrees, yeah.
But I think
anytime it gets below 60 degrees, they don't retract it, pretty much.
If you have a dome stadium to make it more like football, I think this. I think that, really the air conditioner should be turned on at 30, and every game should be played at 30 degrees. Be a damn man. It's football.
I personally don't think any football team should play in a dome stadium, truthfully. I see the benefit of having a dome stadium because you can get more utilization out of it than 10 games a year, as Cincinnati, is figuring out that they're not recouping their money. I would say that Lucas Oil has been a profitable facility for the city of Indianapolis because it's a large convention draw. They have auto shows there. They have that Lucas Oil is always being used for one thing or another.
Makes more sense to me. But
it's
most
basically
of those stadiums aren't like that.
At some point, it's going to become, it probably is now, the permanent alternate home for the NCAA in terms of the tournament's back there in 2 years, or 3 years. 2021, I think they go back. They go back like every fourth or fifth year. They host a women's tournament there. If not, they're hosting a regional there. There's always an NCAA basketball event going on there. Now they've got the NCAA college football program. Why does it? Well, there's no NCAA team. There's no Big Ten team in Cincinnati. That's why. But Indy's pretty much the home of the Big Ten championships. So dome stadiums can be profitable. Stadiums can be profitable for a city. They're not always a bad investment. Maybe just the people in Cincinnati weren't smart enough to build a dome stadium that had more utilization and more opportunity to.
For football.
I'm not a fan of them, but I understand the utility of them.
This is my point, though. To make it worth subsidizing with taxpayer money, sports facilities would need to attract tourists, correct? Or new industry. Very few tourists brought in. Even if the Bengals play the Steelers, maybe 30 to 40% of the fans there will be Steeler fans. So you brought in 20,000 people from Pittsburgh for a day or two. I don't think that. I don't think that really helps.
Yeah. See, again, I go back to the Dome Stadium though. Indianapolis is one of the biggest convention cities in the country because of the exposition center or the convention center downtown, and then you've got the tie-in with Lucas Oil being right there, just a block away now, and you've got facilities using. I know that there's a ton of major exhibition events or convention events that go on down in Indianapolis. And I'm sure the city recruits its money big time out of Lucas Oil. And who sponsors your football stadium? Whose name is it under?
It's not Paul Brown.
You don't have like Synergy Field.
It's
just Paul Brown. There you go.
It's the only thing Mike Brown has ever done right.
By not giving naming rights to the stadium?
Yeah, because it should be Paul Brown.
Okay. Yeah, well, Jim Irsay Stadium isn't going to fly in Indianapolis.
Well, no, because Jim Irsay was a drunk and a bum, but so's his son.
Wow.
Well, he was. Everybody knows that. That's why you got the team. The people of Baltimore got tired of his crap. They wouldn't give him a stadium because he was a drunken bum.
Okay.
You can have a story or article about their show about that if you want, because it's just true. I can put it like this. Baltimore built the new stadium for the Orioles, and the Ravens cost $240 million, and they get an economic return of $3 million a year. So if that stadium is still being used 80 years from now, they broke even.
And that's what, Ravens football stadium?
The Ravens and the Orioles combined, I think.
Well, no, the Ravens don't play in Camden Yards, do they?
No, that's what I said. It's the stadiums combined cost them $240 million.
Oh,
and
that's cheap.
It's not cheap because number one, those stadiums are older. That's when it was a little cheaper. Camden Yards has been there for 20 years, and the Ravens stadium's been there almost 20 years. So you're looking at it's like the Bengals stadium was probably $300 or $400 million, but it was built in the early 2000s. Wasn't expensive then. It's not now. If you build a stadium, it costs you $500 million or $1 billion. It's cheaper now. But
right.
Still, the point is, the economic impact of those two stadiums combined has brought in $60 million in 20 years. It cost them $240 million.
Well, I put that on the Cincinnati's fault more than anything. They're not utilizing the stadium.
This is the thing. It's what they've done to every place. Most of these stadiums are not domes that are like Indianapolis. Indianapolis has the advantage because the NCAA wants to be headquartered there. If the NCAA didn't want to be headquartered there and they wanted to be someplace else, they would be. And then you would have a stadium that was being used 10 to 15 times a year. You just got lucky.
Hang on now. Other than warm weather markets like San Francisco and Los Angeles, where they're building a new stadium that's going to push $1 billion.
Yeah, but San Francisco is not going to have a bunch of events other than the 49ers in that stadium. You might have a handful of concerts, maybe a few soccer games, maybe a college football game, but there's nothing else they're putting there. What I'm telling you is this. You guys in Indianapolis had the advantage because you've got the NCAA. If the NCAA would have came to Cincinnati and said, hey, You make that a dome, and we'll headquarters the NCAA there. Cincinnati probably goes for that.
Well, I mean, the NCAA came there
Indianapolis is also
before Lucas
owned
Oil
by
was
the
built.
NCAA.
Pretty much, yeah. We pretty much gave him the farm.
Yeah.
We gave him the keys to the city. So.
Yeah. I mean, so basically, you line the pockets for them, and they keep most of the proceeds. You guys just get to have a.
But I think I would venture to say Indianapolis does fairly well on its return on its investment on Lucas Oil.
I have no clue. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I don't either. We have to look it up. I don't know, but I would say, given the fact of how many events go on in Indianapolis, other than just Colts football, every year there's a Mid-East regional, Midwest regional, or some regional basketball tournament. On the men's or women's side, like I said, the Big Ten football uses it. So I think that's just a couple bad decisions on Cincinnati's part, the city, for not being a little more proactive about making their facility more versatile. I can't put that on.
Remember this, though. It's
anybody with Cincinnati.
It's a lot different 20 years ago than it is now. And 20 years ago, basically NFL teams, I mean, if you remember, Cleveland couldn't get the vote passed, so they moved their team to Baltimore. Cincinnati threatened to be the team to move to Baltimore. The reason Cleveland moved to Baltimore is because they had a referendum in Cleveland on putting up a new stadium and using taxpayers' money. They voted it down. In Cincinnati, they passed it. That's why the Browns went to Baltimore, because before the Browns went to Baltimore, before the vote was done, I remember there was a vote in 95, 96, 97, right around there in Cincinnati, which was basically you're voting whether to keep the team or not. So they held the fans in the city hostage. The scary thing would be if they had that vote now. Because when you get to mid-90s, the Bengals had sucked for 4 or 5 years. But from 1970 up through 1990, the Bengals were one of the top 10 franchises in the NFL. I mean, they went to 2 Super Bowls. They were almost always competitive. If you did that now, though, the people of Cincinnati, you may get 51%. You just say, fuck, go.
Say what, go?
Say, duck and go.
Okay.
What do you think I said?
All right. Nothing. Nothing at all.
I'll just
quit
trying to make up for it because you said a bad word yesterday.
Damn it. I did.
All right. So let's do this. We're going to wrap up with something a little bit deeper.
You got Carolina tonight, or you got Pittsburgh?
I got Carolina in the upset. Of course,
I got Carolina
because I'm a Bengals fan, and the only way the Bengals can win the division is if the Steelers lose. I think it's a small upset. Hey, you put it like this.
I still think the Steelers.
When we pick the games tomorrow, the Colts are actually favored to win Sunday against the Jaguars.
I know. Can you believe that? That was a hard pick for me.
Jaguars haven't lost them forever, or haven't won them forever.
It's like, I've got this mentality where in my pool where you pick every game and you play the spread because the spread factors in, I never in my life would bet against the Colts. I picked the Colts, so even though I know they're going to get beat, I still pick the Colts because I'm just loyal to my team.
That's not loyal. That's just stupid.
Stupid. Yeah, okay. Let's just call it what it is. It's stupid. You're right. But I'm willing to throw that game away just because I'm not ever going to give bad karma about my beloved Colts. And so here I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it. What's the spread in this game? How many
I think Colts are
the Colts getting? 3. It's a 3 points. Yeah, Colts are 3-point favorites in that game. So there you go. I took the Colts. So we'll talk about that tomorrow.
All righty. So
what do you want to end up that's fun?
Well, give me this. It's not fun. I didn't say it was fun. I didn't say anything was fun.
Oh.
But we talked about The White Shadow. What's your favorite TV show of all time?
My favorite TV show of all time, bar none, period?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I don't know that I have one.
Oh, you gotta have
Johnson.
one.
Petticoat Junction. Billy Joe, Bobby Joe, and Betty Joe.
I hope you're kidding.
Yeah.
The
old 99, the Cannonball Express. Yeah. Farm living is the life for me. My favorite TV show of all time. I just don't. I would have to research that.
You got to research what you like. What are you going to do? You're going to call people that used to know you back in the 70s and 80s and say, hey, what'd I talk about?
No, because I mean, you find something every once in a while that you really enjoy watching, and you're sad when it goes away. I mean,
Yeah. My favorite shows are still All in the Family, Sanford, and Cheers. Sanford and Son.
All in the Family, Sanford and Son, and Cheers.
Yeah.
All in the Family, I can see you fitting in with you. Yeah, you're an Archie Bunker idiot, so that makes sense.
You're an idiot. Who's calling names now? Jeez.
Oh, I said you were an Archie Bunker idiot.
You probably were a big Small Wonder fan in the mid-'80s, weren't you?
Small Wonder. What was Small Wonder?
You don't remember that about the little robot girl? It used to make me want to punch my TV every time it came on.
No, was that Wonder Years?
No, Wonder Years was a good show.
Yeah, Danica Keller and Fred Savage.
Yeah. You're probably a big Doogie Howser fan. You're a geek.
No, I never watched Doogie Howser.
Big Bang Theory, which is a stupid show, too.
You know, I have never seen an episode of that show at all.
I watched the first episode ever, and I thought it sucked, and I looked at my wife, and I said, this will be off in about a month.
You know what? I'll tell you what my I will not miss TV show is right now, and that's Jeopardy.
Well, that's been a can't miss show since the early '80s.
And yeah.
You could go back
if you tell me what's my favorite TV show, where I have the most fun watching the show consistently, I would say it's Jeopardy. That's just we tape it every night, and we sit down, we have dinner. My wife, my son, and I, we sit down and we play Jeopardy, and that's our family time to jive each other, play with each other in terms of knowing the questions and learning stuff. And I would bet, I would say I'm going to say it's Jeopardy.
All right.
Although I got to tell you, yeah, we have Netflix. Yeah, there's a lot of great. That's the thing.
Jeopardy
is
now on Netflix.
Well, I know. We've been watching because they're having the high school world championships right now, and we don't care because we can't answer any of the questions from the high school kids, so we don't want to embarrass ourselves. It's kind of like, are you smarter than a sixth grader?
What's the best acne medicine? Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't know, but we've been watching Netflix.
Yeah, they get the
watching Jeopardy on Netflix all week. The Tournament of Champions is on there. Yeah, go back and see Ken Jennings again. Rule the world.
Yeah, I haven't really watched a show since the 80s. I stopped paying attention to everything at about 1990, so anything from 1990 on, I'm not any good at answering.
There's a good question, though. What's the best sports TV show of all time?
Actually,
we're talking about White Shadow.
You ever watch Arliss on HBO?
Was that the one with Bob Wall where he was the agent?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great show.
I like that show.
Yeah.
I liked The White Shadow. I loved Friday Night Lights. Because I remember Friday Night Lights, the first 2 seasons was on NBC, and then they went to like DirecTV or something, and I found a friend that had DirecTV, and he had to record it and bring it to me every week. We're no longer friends. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not. Probably did.
Yeah. It was on, well, it was on, okay. Yeah, you can get, that's on Netflix too now. All the Friday Night Lights are on Netflix too, so you can get all those.
You ever see Eastbound and Down?
Was that? No, was that
the dude that was the former Major League pitcher? That was good too.
Jim Bouton?
No. Jim Bouton? No, Eastbound and Down. Jim Bouton wrote Ball 4, correct?
Yeah, great book.
I think Ball 4 was a series for a while in the late 70s too, wasn't it? For like
that's why I thought. Yeah, it was.
There was another one.
They tried to make it a series.
What was the other one? It was like Bay City Blues or something. It was on for like a year in the late 70s or early 80s.
Yeah. Oh, what's the one? What is the one now? It's got Hank Azaria in it. He's the baseball announcer. I love that show. I can't think of the name of it right off my head. I'm drawing a blank.
The baseball.
Brockmire. You see Brockmire?
Never heard of it.
Yeah, go find Brockmire. It's got Amanda Peet in it and Hank Azaria. And he's an old, washed-up, drunken Major League Baseball announcer. It's hilarious. Hank Azaria is great. It's funny. It's on one of the more obscure channels, but it's on my cable system, so I just DVR it and it pops up. It's called Brockmire. Google it real quick.
No. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, hell. I bet people are riveted by our
Brockmeyer,
conversation now.
many people, yeah, I know, we're just kind of like wasting airtime, aren't we? But no, Brockmeyer's one. If you have, it's just a funny movie, a funny half-hour TV show about, like I said, Hank Azaria plays he was a major league announcer. Joe Buck is his friend, and Joe Buck is his guide and advisor in the show.
Joe Buck doesn't have any friends, whether it's real life or
okay, well, he does in this TV show.
Oh,
but and he was like, he was announced for the Kansas City Chiefs, and then he got into a drunken rage on a game and started going nuts on a radio show, and they fired him. He ended up in the minor leagues, trying to revitalize his career. Now he's made his way back to the majors, but now he's gone back to drinking and hooping it up again.
So is that something like the Indianapolis Colts announcer?
Bob Lamey?
Yeah, that's
Bob
what
Lamey
happened
was a
to
good
him,
guy.
right?
Bob Lamey was
I
a
have
good guy.
Actually, I have found Brockmeyer, the TV series.
Yeah.
I haven't found what channel it's on yet. IFC.
It's on IFC, yeah, Independent Film Channel or something like
I'll
that.
have to look at that. There's no bad language or nudity, is there? Because you know I'm against all that.
Yes, there is. There's a lot of bad language and a lot of nudity.
Oh, I can't watch that then.
Okay, well,
It's
then don't.
degrading to women. I've been trying to be more politically correct lately.
Yeah, there is a lot of bad language and nudity in it.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to hear bad language. I hear enough of that every day from you on this show.
Come on, I don't. Now, what I don't like is I don't like the Ballers show on HBO.
Oh, I like Ballers. I thought you always talk about watching Ballers.
I do watch it, but I don't like it.
So you watch it, but you don't like it. So you watch it because you don't like it.
I love watching sports shows. So
You just like to look at The Rock.
You know,
just admit it. You like to look at Dwayne Johnson.
I like to look at the cars they drive.
Yeah. So you liked Miami Vice?
No, I was never a Miami Vice fan. I was more of a Magnum PI fan.
I never saw Miami Vice. I don't even think I ever watched Magnum PI. He was a Detroit Tigers fan, so I didn't like him.
Yeah, no.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap this show up.
We're going to get off this air because we are really tanking right
Tomorrow,
now. We did our due diligence.
You're tanking.
So in the
I'm
end,
fine.
Let me ask you one question.
Okay.
If nobody's listening anymore because they've given up on us,
Okay.
is Krzyzewski clean or not?
I'm looking around to make sure nobody's listening. I would say I hope he is, but I find it highly doubtful that most are. I think there are guys that run clean programs, but I think the blip are the guys that are clean. And I can tell you that's why, as an Indiana fan, I think there's a lot of dirty stuff that went on after night, and it's why I'm glad Archie Miller's here now. And I'm not to say that Archie Miller wouldn't do anything wrong, but I haven't seen anything to tell me he has, so I'm hoping he's clean.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
So I don't know.
I think Krzyzewski has studied and modeled the John Wooden mentality of how to deal with that stuff in college athletics.
Yeah, just act like it's not there.
Act like it's not there and let it go on and keep your nose out of it and just know that it's there and just trust the people that are doing it all.
And then when you retire, write some book about the pyramid of success, which really
exactly
should have, just dollar bills there. But all right, we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up. I want to remind everybody, if you're an Indiana basketball fan, you can hear the wrap-up from the Chicago State game with Colin and Steve on thegrizzlytruth.net. NFL Pick'em Show will be live tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern on thegrizzlytruth.net. And tomorrow you can hear myself and Steve as we do our normal Friday Football Frenzy, where we talk about college football and the NFL. Steve loves that show, and we love that you guys love it. All right, so we're going to
can I make one point, too? I just want to pat Colin Hartman on the back. He's a kid's coming into this. He's got great insight and really understands a lot more maturity about the game of basketball than I would have given him credit for at this point in time, having just come out of a program from transition from a player to being an observer. The show we did last night was really, really insightful and really good, and he had some really great observations. And the fun thing, the reason why you want to listen to it, if you're an Indiana basketball fan and you listen to us, Colin knows these players personally. He knows the intricacies of these kids' mentality and personality, and applies that to his logic of what they're doing on the basketball court. He does a really good job. So, just wanted to make a plug. If you really want to, not just understand stat sheets and the 5 takeaways from a game, listen to Colin Hartman, because what I talk about is what happened in the Knight era, which is always great fun stories. People always want to know what it was really like to play for Knight. But Colin's really giving you a great insight into the program as it sits today, and this program is on its way up.
All right.
And
we have breaking news, and you are going to hear this here first, because I just got a email from the XFL to announce that just now they have named Doug Whaley, former general manager of the NFL's Buffalo Bills, as the league's senior vice president of football, who will work directly under CEO and commissioner Oliver Luck. And Steve and I had Oliver Luck on the show a couple months ago, and we were going to have him on again here probably in the next month or so. So make sure you go to thegruelingtruth.net. You can go up in that search bar, type in Oliver Luck. You can hear the 45-minute to an hour Survive in Advance we did with Oliver earlier in the year. So,
this is a great interview.
Yeah, and I think having Oliver there makes them legit. Having Doug Whaley there makes them even more legit. So I look forward to talking more XFL over the next couple of years and hopefully beyond that. You can follow us at The Grueling Truth on Twitter. Almost said Twitcher. I don't know. I made up a new one. But you can follow us at The Grueling Truth. You can go to Facebook, go to The Grueling Truth page. There's also a Survive in Advance page on Facebook, and Survive the Magic, which is the Twitter page that Steve runs. So make sure you go to all those places. Follow The Grueling Truth. We appreciate everybody that listens every day. And remember, you can also hear all of our shows. If you're on the car and you're driving to, Mexico or something, running from the government or whatever you're doing, you can pick us up on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.